My name is Mustafa Aydogan. I am in Kent, Ohio, in the U.S. I'm at Kent State University doing my Ph.D. In writing a dissertation, which is hopefully going to be over soon. I grew up in Turkey and I've been in the U.S. for about 8 years. My background is in counseling, specifically school counseling. I work with school counselors, students in schools in different countries. My research has been around cultural competencies on school counselors. My dissertation is on that topic too. In terms of Q methodology, I've been introduced to it by my advisor at Kent State University, Dr. Marty Gencius, and then ever since I've been fascinated and interested, kept reading and learning more. However, nothing we say here is, we don't claim that we're experts on Q or HtmlQ, easy HtmlQ. So, we're learning and we would like to, offer this learning process to you as much as we know. And yeah, that's where we are at this point, and I'm super excited to be here. Actually, I've been doing easy HtmlQ using as a tool to collect data because I'm in the U.S. because this is the COVID time. I collect data from different countries. And from different parts of the states too at the same time. So yeah, cool. Miku, is there anything you want to add, or should we get started?
Actually, yes. We talked about questions. So what we want to do is invite people to put their questions in the chat as we go. If it's a really quick question, Mustafa and I will try and get to it right in the moment. Otherwise, we'll save the chat and try to email you back a follow-up response. So you can just type them in as we go. I think that's it.
Sounds good. So in the next 55 minutes, actually 45 minutes, the presentation part, the first 25 minutes, I'm going to be presenting the HtmlQ as in terms of file, how to download it, how to, what documents, what files within the file we need to take a look and review and change and edit based on our own study. And then after that, we're gonna talk about the configurator. It's a more simpler version of doing HtmlQ or editing HtmlQ files through an application that you can set up on your computer. But in order to get there, you need to know how the easy HtmlQ works and how to get it to your computer. And then we'll talk about, there's going to be a little bit exercise, and we're going to ask you, actually, everyone, to be a part of the exercise. You all will offer a statement about a topic that we will just come up with. No IRB approval, no publication, nothing. This is just for the sake of demonstration. And then we'll put those statements in our study and come up with a link and send you the link. And in 5 minutes, you all will be a part of our online study that will end today. So let's see how it goes. And one of the suggestions we got from so many people is that, can you just treat us as if we don't know anything about computers? So I'll do that. I will share my screen. So this is my screen. Nothing. It's not clear like this every day, but I cleaned it for today. So I am gonna go to Google and Google easy HTML, which I already did. It's right here. Easy HTML is a web-based application through which you can collect your Q methodology study data from your participants who are not in the same room with you, basically doing the paper version, the traditional version of the work, which we don't claim that either of them is better than the other one. We just think that it is just it's good to have diversity in your methods for some troubled days. So all the files are in a GitHub account by Dr. Shawn Banasick, who also created HtmlQ years ago and has been updating actually recently more often in the last 1 year or so, which we appreciate. So let's go to the first one, and that's what's going to come up in your screen too. There's a lot of documents here. You don't need to deal with any of these. I am going to just show you the right side, the right column. It says releases, 6 different versions basically. And the latest one, just click on that one. And here is our easy HtmlQ version 2.0.3. and just come to this zip file, download it to your computer. I'll just put it on our desktop. And I'm going to unzip this. It's going to be very technical the first couple of minutes, but I promise it will make sense. I don't need the zip file. I'm going to delete it. This is my unzipped version of everything that we just saw on the GitHub website. So many files. I don't know what they are, and I don't have any computer background, by the way. No coding, nothing. Maybe very simple HTML coding that I learned from Google videos, YouTube videos, I promise. So everything you need to know is in this file, the settings file. And this index HTML, you will need it at some point, but not now. And you don't need to do any coding, I promise again. So I'll come to the settings file. Think about your Q studies. Think about the Q studies you read. Originally, traditionally, we have a step. We ask participants to say yes to our consent form, and we give them the directions, our research question. We ask them to think about that, and we ask them to do a rough sorting into agree, disagree, and neutral. Sometimes the wording can change, and then we ask them to do a full sorting, which is our famous Q table. And then we ask them to reflect on the mostly agreed or mostly disagreed statements, and we might have some demographics to ask. And in my field, we always have demographics to ask. So let's take a look at these files. I do not want to spend so much time on it because, oh, wait, sorry, 1 second before. So this index HTML file, I want to do a test run with this. It will say no at the first step, and then later it will say yes because of the security issues. Oh, it's not going to say. So our participants will see this. This is what HtmlQ does, actually. The first page, you can change these writings. I'll explain everything in a couple seconds in those files that I was going to show you before this. So this is a demo study about iPad usage. This is your consent form. When you say yes or continue, this will be yes to your consent form. And introduction, you may just say, write something else here. You have ability to change anything you see on the screen. And then I say yes, and these are directions. So that you ask them, please press 1, 2, 3, or drag and drop. I'll show you in a second. You can go back to that pop-up screen, by the way, with, wait a second, if I can move this. On the right corner here, bottom corner, it says help me. It just pops up the screen, the pop-up screen again. So this is your rough sorting. You can just drag and drop. This is actually how I explain on Zoom to my participants. Or you can just click on 1. If you click on 1 on your keyboard, it will go to disagree, 2 neutral, 3 agree. And I'm just going to do it randomly. And on one more screen I want to show you. This is the main sorting. So I just sorted all the statements in 3 seconds. Hopefully your participants will do something different. Into three categories: disagreed, neutral, and agreed. You can change anything you see on the screen. So this writing here, the right corner, agreed or disagreed, you can make it least agreed, most agreed, or neutral. You can just change anything you want in those files. And then this is the sorting. This is where participants take 2 statements for the most agreed. I'm doing randomly, or neutral or disagreed. We generally traditionally start with the agreed and disagreed, the 2 ends of the continuum. And then they can finish it. Once they finish, it just pops up continue and then confirm and then go to the next screen. And you can ask your demographics there and the reflection questions about these 2 items or these 2 items on the left or right ends of the X screen. Because these items will be just automatically carried there, and then there will be a open-ended box for participants to write. So I'll just stop this for a second. I will come to back to our HtmlQ files, all the things you want to change here. And let's take a look at this mat file for a second. It looks so confusing, but I promise you, let's get closer a little bit. So all this says is -4 and the -4 column has 2 items. Do you want to change that? If you want to change to 1 item, then you would just change to 1 this number. Or it says, 0, the middle column has 5 statements in the column. So if you want to change that to 7, you just come here and change it. And of course, you want to calculate how many statements in total you have, so that it matches with the number of statements you have in another file. So that's the only thing you need to do. One thing I can add to you here. So let's just copy this last line of little code and paste it one here. So this is +4, +3, +4, +3, +2, and I want to make 5 because my study requires 5 categories on the right side of the table. And you want to say one statement here, not 2. That's it. Well, that's what you need to do. And in order to have a symmetry, you want to have the same thing here. You don't, the empty space doesn't matter in coding. You can just change this to -5 and make it 1. Boom, you're done with your map, basically. And here it's called map, but it's our traditional Q table. I'm not gonna save anything here. Map file is done. Statements file, very simple file. Here. So basically in this study, there are 33 statements starting from 1, and these are the statements. And just what you need to change here is actually this statement here. In this study is about, it's a demo study about iPad usage. I think the iPad helped me to make a good learning environment. So if your study is about, I don't know, I'll come up with something from my field, counseling. I like counseling. That would be my statement 1, or statement 1 for my PSET, for my QSET. So yeah, you just come here and change all the statements one by one. You can see, just don't mess up with these little writings here. This is what the coding is going to do actually for your website, but you just need to come here and change the example statements. This is the statement file. And one thing that I may add again, if you want to have 34 statements, you would come here, copy the last sentence and put again, and make it 34, and then change your statements, whatever you want to change. And you can go back and do it again, 35. If you want to have 45 statements, you can just go ahead and copy and paste the line of code and change your statements accordingly. That's what the statements file is. I know I'm going fast, but because I want to have more time for the demonstration part. So 2 more files. We talked that in traditional Q studies, we have step-by-step approach. We came up with our statements, which is good. We know our map, which is our Q table, how many boxes we want to have, how many columns, how many numbers from -5 to +5 or 6 to 6. Another thing we need is actually the configuration file, which is where all of your demographic form is going to be located. So let's just, you don't need to do any of you don't need to change any of these. You can just find this. There are questions here. For example, this question is about age, and the answer is, question is, please enter your the year of birth. If you want to ask this question, keep it and go to the next question. If you don't want to ask this question and you want to delete it, you can just delete this line of code, these 3 lines, and you don't need to do anything else. However, if you want to use it in a different perspective, let's say, since when have you been a school counselor? Or since when have you been at this company that you're researching? Or whatever you want to, like, whatever the purpose of your study is in related demographic questions, you can ask that question. Let me see another question. Dr. Banasick actually wanted to have different kinds of questions so that researchers can just keep a type of question they like. For example, this one, I like this one because it's about freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, where the students are in their programs, in their education. You like this, you just want to have more of this kind of question, you just can copy and paste. Where did I go? Here. Copy and paste the same thing. Now there are 2 options, as you can see. Instead of freshman, you can ask, I don't know, I am a junior employee of this company, or senior, or I'm somewhere in the middle, or I am in my first year of my master's, second year, or whatever your study is. You can always change the language and just keep the type of the question, that the setting here. If you don't like anything, just delete that line. Just don't mess up with the last lines and the first lines. Just, if you you don't want to have a question about true or false question, you just delete it and you're good to go. So this is the demographics file. once you spend a couple more minutes on it, trying to figure out and see how it changes your setting, it gets faster and easier. So the last question is, last part of our work is all the language that we said we would use at the beginning. Do you remember? For example, you can change anything on that screen. Let's look at this here. The buttons that you saw on the screen said continue. Instead, you can just say next. If your language or whatever you can actually make it Turkish. I don't know how to say it in Turkish. I forgot my language. My own language. Whatever the language you want to use, you can always put anything here. So go or next. So you can use anything you want for the buttons. So you can change the language of the interface that the participants will see. I actually have done it in Turkish so many times. So the agreed, neutral, and disagreed. So some people may say, like my view, and oh no, that one is unlike my view, and this one is like my view. In some Q studies, I say that I see that like my view. So so all the button names are here. Let me see if there's anything else. And for example, the consent form that you wanted to have, there's no consent form here. But however, if you come closer here, you will see, yeah, here. This welcome. This is a demo project on iPad use in classroom. So if you want to say welcome, this is a study of, I don't know, multicultural counseling. That's my project. I want to use it as an example. Your project name, and then you can just put your consent form. This study has been approved by IRB in this university or ethical board. I think that's what they say in some countries. And if you say continue, that means you're electronically giving us to consent to collect your data. No personal data is collected through this system. So you can always say that too. And all the other steps, the names, for example, comment on the best and worst rated statements. If you don't like the word worst, change it. And finally, please answer following questions regarding your background. You can say demographics questions. So all the wording of the process, the interface that your participants see are here, are here, and you can change them. Now we're done with our study. I'll just hypothetically say that we're done with the study. We set up our study, we're good to go. Now this was step one. There are two more steps. One is all these files are in my computer. No one can have access to these unless they are in the same room with me, which is is not the purpose of this work, basically, doing everything online. So another step is to create a database where the participants will sort do their sorting and you collect their data, and the data will be stored. And there are a couple of ways of doing it. Your personal website or any kind of hosting company might do it. I will do in two ways. One is in two different steps, I think, the same way. One is Firebase. Firebase is a service provided by Google. If you have a Gmail account, it will work with it. I know in some countries, for example, China, Gmail may not work or may not function well. Then in that case, you have to find some other way of integrating the system to make it online with a host company or database. So I'll go to Firebase. You can just enter your ID credentials, and it will take you to this website, this site, and you go to console. And I will not go over everything here because it takes time, and it's just step-by-step process, which I will tell you where you can find a more better, I guess, clearer direction step-by-step. So you won't have these options because these are all my projects that I had and I tried and test runs. So you'll just come here, add project, and name your study with something, I don't know, smart, Q study. It won't be as smart. Continue. It's free service, but up to 10 studies, I think. You don't need to collect Google Analytics data about your website, and it will create in a second. So this is where your data will be stored. And in some universities, the IRB or the ethics board will not allow you to collect your data or store it in a Google service because they may not trust Google. for data security. And then in that case, you will talk to them and maybe get their suggestion. Maybe they will ask you to use their own website or university service. One more step I will show you here. So this is where your studies background is, or the data storage is. You just come here, this web, to click here and create a web app for this. I don't know, QStudy again, QStudy 2. It doesn't matter if you use the same name. And one more thing, and I'll stop. Okay, so at some point you will need this line of code, which is basically this entire script here. You just copy it and paste it somewhere that I just want you to be familiar with this process. You just copy it and paste it in one of the files in HTML, in easy HtmlQ. But I will stop here because there are a couple more steps you need to take before you do that. I'll stop here. So we have the files in our computer and we have a storage. All we need is a link to make these two together. So merge these two so that our participants can have access to our files and fill out their forms or whatever they need to fill, or the sorting and demographics form, and the data will be stored in this Firebase. And that the last step is, again, it can be done through hosting companies like Wix.com or any other company. But there's another less known one. It's called Netlify, if I can spell it correctly. And Netlify is the same company like hosting companies, but their free version actually is good enough for you to do your studies without paying any money. And you can just sign up for it, it's so simple, create your code or password and put your email, confirm it, and that's you good to go. And I will log in because I'm already registered. You will come to this website. There is 3 projects that I have already here. Let's create a project. Let's create a site. So this is it's called website. Come to this one, and I will stop here. But do you see this faded writing? You won't have these three, but you will only have this one. Want to deploy a site without connecting to Git? It's basically GitHub. Drag and drop your files. Basically, all you will have to do is actually to come here. Let me see if I can, better. Come here, find this HTML file easy HtmlQ file folder that we created. We did everything in it, and then drag and drop this. Do it again. That's it. In 3 seconds, your website will be ready. Look at this link. This is my link. They generally come up with very funny words, but you can always change this this link from the site settings here. So when you give this link to your participants, they will be able to have access and do the same thing that I showed at the beginning. And then they will finish the study, submit their data, and it will come to your Firebase account. And then you will start the analysis from there. I will stop here. I know I've been fast, but I aim to finish this in 25, 26 minutes, which it has been 24 minutes, because I will show a little demonstration at the end. Here we go. Take a breath. And I want everybody, there are 31 people other than Miku and I myself. I want everybody to submit a statement, write a statement. Let's work on our concourse. One simple statement for an imaginary study that, let's just call it an online Q study, about the perspectives of online Q sorting. What are the perspectives of online Q sorting? What perspectives of Q researchers on online Q sorting? What would be a statement that you can come up with? Go ahead and put all those statements in one statement each person in the chat box. Once Miku takes over, she's going to take 5-6 minutes to go over the application that we talked about at the beginning. And in the meantime, I will take those statements, 9 of them, not all of them, unfortunately, in terms of to respect everyone's time, and use those statements in the file that I showed you. And I will show you the updated version, and then we will make a website together, like through Netlify, and then we'll do the study as a group here.
Fantastic.
Miku?
Thank you, Mustafa. Now that I know that was very quick, but we do have it recorded, and I was hoping to create some clarification in the chat. So keep those comments going. Fantastic. Mustafa's going to take those. What I'm going to do is screen share here and then show you Q Configurator. So for the Q Configurator, this is basically the wizard version of what Mustafa just did. The first thing that you'll need for the Q Configurator is to actually download it itself. And I'm just going to copy and paste it and pop it into the chat for you so that you just have it handy. There it is. Yeah, keep going with those statements, looking good. And then what you'll do is you'll scroll down here. And if you wanted to download the code for some reason, you could, but there's really no need. The best thing to do is scroll down to this area here where it says download links. This is where you're going to find your install files for the EQ configurator, which is basically a wizard. Dr. Banasick has some awesome just instructions right here for how to install it and explains it for Apple's, Linux, and Windows. I'm going to do a very brief demonstration of what it looks like in Windows. So you would click on the install link here. You'll see that it's installing here in the lower left-hand corner. And what it'll do is it'll pop up with your install file.exe. I have it set to come up onto the desktop. So when you install the EQ configurator, you just double click it. And you'll see again, all of these instructions are kind of on that page. It'll take a second to set it up. This is our wizard. And let's see, because I have already told it, there we go. I've already told it to go ahead and accept. We can skip the step, but I'm just going to show people. You will get a dialog box that pops up and says, oh no, do you really want to run this program? And because he didn't register it through Microsoft and all these different programs, you actually have to go in and say, yes, I do want to run this program anyway. Once you've clicked on that once, then it'll go ahead and open up. So this is what you'll see is the HtmlQ configurator wizard. You get to select, and what I'm going to do here, just because we only have a couple more minutes, is just briefly walk you through the table of contents, essentially. So you can pick if you want the expert or the novice. And then the other thing about setting it up is, go to the next step here. Mustafa kind of showed you already about how to download the HtmlQ files. What we'll do with the configurator is set it up to do a demonstration so that when you modify the setting files the way that Mustafa did, you can see it as a demonstration. So the first thing you'll do is you'll click here on this little box. It's basically linking the wizard to where you installed the easy HtmlQ files. And for me, it's on the desktop. So I would just click that box there, select folder. So now our wizard knows where to direct all of the input that you're going to input into the wizard. Here, we're going to copy this little code and pop it into a browser. And what that will do is let you see all the changes you make in the wizard. It'll automatically pop up in your browser. You can see that I've already made a change by modifying the little welcome screen, just a really brief thing. The EQ configurator at this point is not running it off of the website. It's running it off of your browser. So it's still locally held, and it's a great way to practice putting your sort together before you run it online. So the next thing this wizard does, it's fantastic, it just walks you through all the same configuration pieces that Mustafa showed you. So he was going into these files and opening them in a text pad and making the changes manually. But here, you can just type it in like you would normally type in labels. So there's a configuration area, there's a statements area. This is just useful to overview and look at. There's 4 main files that you're going to change for HtmlQ: the config file, the statements file, the map, and the language. Here's where you'd enter your statements. Here's our map, which is basically the QSort grid. So you can set up how large you want the grid to be. And it actually has some error proofing features in there. So if you do the wrong numbers, it'll pop up as red and say the number of statements doesn't match the numbers that you have. So it's got some great features there. And then we have our language. Someone was asking in the chat about how you format, and this is just an example here of how you do formatting manually in HTML language to make spaces or bold. You can also just Google for that, but this is just very, very simple formatting. And here is your options to change the buttons, the language on the buttons, the language on the navigation. Here's our welcome screen. Molly was asking if there's a character limit. I haven't tested it yet, but this would be a great space to just test it and see what happens. You can see this little feature here with the brackets and the B. That's your paragraph spacing. Or wait, sorry, that's this one here, the paragraph spacing. This is bold, I believe. And then this is what it looks like. Step 1, step 2, here are your instructions. And then there's information for styles. I wanted to show something here. One of the most important features is walking through this program is the bottom here. So after you complete the input through the wizard, this is the place where you're going to click that button, save to the folder. And that's why we linked the wizard to the folder in the beginning. So it's going to rename the file for you, but then you need to make sure that you go into the settings and make sure that you replace that default language that it had with the new file that you're creating in the wizard. So that's a really important step to actually have this wizard work for you. There's the option to change the styles, using the wizard itself for just generic font size, even optimizing it for iPads. And then the last piece is the Firebase setup and then uploading. And Mustafa briefly touched on that. This is some of the best instructions right here for how to actually go about that. Mustafa, did you want to add anything here?
Yes, this is where I said actually the directions would be. So this step here, step 7, has everything you need to do on that Firebase account, which is very simple. Go step 1, create a project, and can you scroll down a little bit, Miku? So yeah, go to console. These the first 3-4 steps I did. A little bit more. You can name anything you want actually. A little bit more. This is what we did too, and a little bit more. Yes, so after this step, it's step 2 has all the step-by-step approaches you need to do, things that you need to do. Go, for example, one of the things that Google doesn't accept anonymous submissions because it's just a security issue. You just need to go there and enable that so that your participants don't have to log in or put their personal information. Yeah, thank you, Miku. That's what I wanted to say.
Great, and I think I'm gonna stop the screen share. That's basically what I wanted to cover, was just to go through the wizard to show you what it looks like. And then also to mention that somewhere floating around out there is a PowerPoint with step-by-step instructions. And Mustafa was saying that actually downloading the Q configurator, even if you don't use it, is still the most up-to-date, best instructions for how to get things set up for Firebase and Netlify. And I think that's it. Are you ready for me to hand it back, Mustafa?
Yes, I already did a test run.
All right, let's do it.
Beautiful, thank you. I think the EQ configurator is a lot more user-friendly because you don't need to deal with all those file changes and everything. That's how we learned last year and the last couple of years, maybe longer than that. However, the EQ configurator was published, I think, in a few months ago. Or I might be wrong, but we recently. So it just gives you a better interface to deal with those files. But yeah, and actually you end up doing everything, as you said, Miku, and downloading the file and replacing it. That's actually what you're doing. So I took 9 of the statements that you all submitted randomly. Really, I couldn't have time to really pick and think about my my concourse development as I would in real studies. And let me share my screen. Yes. So I took those statements, came to my file. If you remember, this is the thing that came out of the folder that came out of the zip file that we downloaded. And there are a lot of files here that we don't need to do anything. Come to the settings. And the only thing I needed to do is actually to change this map, because the number of statements in the default is 33, but I wanted 9 statements. So I actually went there and changed here, I'll show you in a second, since we're doing good with time. So yeah, it's a lot simpler. If you can see, I just said -2, -1, and all the way through +2, +2. And I said 1 statement, 2 statement, 3 statements under 0, and 1 statement is under 4. So for example, and I made it a lot simpler because it's just easier to deal with this in it. Go ahead.
Can you like slow that process that you just did down? How did you open up that file? Like even just that piece there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, good point. So if you click on this, my computer automatically uses Word document on Microsoft Office Word, and it just doesn't work with Word. You need to have some kind of text edit file. It's all the MacBooks would have it, what is the other kind of computer that you're using, Miku?
Oh, just the Windows.
Windows, yeah, Windows would have a text editor. I think it's called text editor or text edit, whatever it is. You just open with that one, because the other than this is the simplest version of opening these files in a good way without breaking them. And the next level would be to use some kind of code editor, which we just assume that a lot of people here would not, have that kind of interest or that kind of background. So yeah, that's how we did it. And I came to these statements. If you remember, this statement file actually had 33 statements. I just deleted 22 of them, left 9, and just deleted these statements. And there was there were iPad-related questions, and I just changed them and took my statements from our concourse, I will call it, in our Q chat. Debriefing Q subjects is easier and face-to-face. Online queue sorting is intuitive. The digital queue sorting does not capture all the all of the feedback from the participants, and all the other related items that you all submitted, which I'm glad we're doing this. So let's say I am done with all the config details, language details, which I'm not. I need to spend maybe 2-3 more hours to change everything and make it perfect for my real participants. And I just close this. Go to Netlify. If you remember, you just type Netlify and come to the website and log in, and this is where you would end up. And click on the sites. You would have 0 sites. I have 4. This one is my, I created 15 minutes ago when you guys were listening to Miku. So it says here, want to deploy site? Just drag and drop your files. Okay, I will do it. Easy HTML file, all my files, no exception, just everything. It doesn't matter what you name it, by the way. You can just name it, study number 4. And drag and drop everything here. Drag and drop everything here. And this is Vigilance Summit is, and all the other words, is my link. Let's see if it's going to work. Which it is working. So we're good. I'll close it. And I'm going to assume that you all are my participants, or our participants. And I'm going to come here and stop sharing. And I want everyone who is available to take a second and be a part of the study. Go ahead. I'll give you all maybe 3 minutes. You don't need to read everything. I want you to just get the feeling of it. Very rarely, in the meantime, I'll say a couple of things. Very rarely, I may have a participant out of like 200 that I've seen for different studies, whose computer is too old or browsers is so outdated. They may have problems with opening and reloading. I generally end up asking them to renew and update their browser and stuff. So it's kind of a part of the technology related issues work. that we do. And I want everybody to submit their data. No personal data is needed. We're not collecting your IP addresses or anything. And I'll delete everything at the end of this demonstration.
This question that just came in, Mustafa. Yeah, the data would be lost. Yeah.
Data would be lost, unfortunately. Yeah, nothing is saved during their participation. They have to submit the data at the end. And I'll give you a couple tips about this process at the end in terms of working with participants. I'll give you all maybe another 20 seconds. If you're not done, you can review it later, or maybe I can give 10 minutes after we're done here for you all to take a look at it again. You can renew it. I think you can submit it a second time by the same participant. Oh, wow. I have at least 20 people's responses. I'm going to stop here. Well, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to get back to the workshop. So a couple of things. In some studies that I have seen recently published, there were two studies that said they used HTML, easy HtmlQ, the same program we just have gone over. And they said that they would send the link through Facebook or some potential participants. I have never done it. I do not know how that process would work. Renata, coming back to your question slowly. I have met all my participants on Zoom, either sometimes in groups of 2, 3, 5, maximum I had 10 people. And in that case, I had 2 researchers present in the same moment so that I can put one person in a breakout room and another researcher can deal with that if they're having technical concerns, issues. And I explain step by step. Sometimes I share my own screen, and sometimes if it's only one participant, I ask them to share their screens. In average, it has taken 38 minutes for maybe 100 and 130, maybe 200, I don't know, a little bit more, for a couple studies that I've done as the researcher and seeing participants. So I do not let them go quickly. I ask them, please think about it, and I tell them already before they end up in my screen, on my screen, that this process will take 30 to 50 minutes. It will take at least 30 minutes because some participants actually, they think quickly, they act quickly, which is perfectly fine. It would happen in face-to-face meetings as well. Another one is I tell them to think and take a second before they're sorting, each sorting. And I tell them to explain the statements placed under +5 and -5 or 4 thoughtfully. I ask them, I want to know how you're thinking, how you're feeling. I want to know what your viewpoint is in terms of picking the statement, the specific statement, because the statement is a message that I may interpret in a different way than you do. So I want to know about that. And people end up writing a good paragraph for each. Some people go crazy and write an essay for each statement or each reflection question, which is perfectly fine as much as they have time. Another one, I actually do, as I said, I do group work, and if depending on your research process or the study that we're currently doing in Turkey, we have 3 Q researchers. They all are comfortable with the Q. We had a couple test runs before, with participants who are our friends. We just did a test run with them who had no idea about Q. So we did that, and we just accepted real participants in groups of 2 or 3, and sometimes 1 and different researcher did the same thing, and we watched each other too doing it in different with different participants, so that we got to know our style. So we did something similar that's in between of, it's kind of closer to everyone's approach. I will stop here. Miku, do you want to take over and manage the questions? My screen froze for a second.
I've just been entering some things into the chat. Really great questions. Thank you so much, everybody. The if-then question about specific instructions. This is beginning to move beyond our technical expertise, absolutely. So that one we'll follow up on. I don't know if I have anything else to add. I think that what Mustafa, you were saying is that we're not just giving these people the link to the sort and letting them kind of run with it on their own. It's actually held within a process where we can be, maybe you could even be observing them. It depends, you know, if they want to have their camera on or off, that's a little bit truer to form for the way Q is done and might address some of still the criticisms and concerns with online Q sorting. So I think that is important. Did you mention already, Mustafa, about it actually collects data and tells you the exact number of minutes people spend on the particular screen that they're looking at?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
For the rough sorting and main sorting. And one more thing I may add, Miku, what you have just said, is that actually I never share my links with anyone other than my participants. Right during the meeting, I meet them, I tell them the instructions, I explain myself, you know, and then the study, and then I give them the link. Please just go ahead and click on the link on the chat. And I have a discussion at the end. I actually stop them somewhere along, you know, around the reflection time, and just like, you know, I would do in a face-to-face meeting. It's not a question of better or worse, but it's just a question of if you're interested and you're available, why not? Miku, go ahead. Thank you.
No, I think that's it. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, these are great questions. I'm open to, any other questions. There was a good question here also about pictures. Mustafa, do you know the answer to that one?
I have not done it. I don't know how to do it. You need to know a little bit of HTML coding language in order to do it. I want to say there would be a way, because there's a way. It's a code. It's a code. It's a piece of code in a file, basically. I think you can do it, but I've never seen an example or anything else. So I don't know. You just need to attach a file to the code instead of a statement, basically. But I do not know the answer. It would be a good question for Dr. Banasick, actually. He's active on GitHub.
Right. Yeah. And we did reach out to him to invite him today, just as a courtesy and to thank him. But he's in Japan still, so. Maybe.
I was going to be very stressed if he had showed up, so I'm glad he didn't.
A few other things to add about this process that we just walked through, whether you're using the wizard, the Q configurator, or not. We have had several conversations about data storage security, being on the cloud, or Mustafa, as you said, if people don't have access to Google wherever they are. So there's another option that I figured out, and it's still definitely, it's one of those things where Mustafa opened up and showed you all the files. We don't know what every single file does. You can Google each one of them and learn that way. But I was able to get my HtmlQ running with my private research database and website so that the files were not being hosted through Google. And so I wanted to invite anyone who wanted to stay on for maybe an extra half hour. So we'll have like a soft close right on the hour. But if anyone wants to stay on for another half hour, I can briefly present what that process looks like. And what I had to do, interestingly enough, was take something from a PHP script that was from FlashQ that Christian Hackert had programmed, and used that to set up the HtmlQ. And so I can show that if anyone's curious, but that's sort of digging into the weeds a little bit deeper into the more technical issues. So you didn't want to throw too much at you at one time. We do still have 5 minutes. If we have time, can you explain Firebase and Netlify? Do you want to do that, Mustafa?
I got a couple questions here. Yeah, Miku. Beautiful questions. I appreciate all your questions and comments and concerns. Number one is easy answer. I am sure there's a limit in terms of the amount of writing that the participants can enter in these boxes after the main sorting. However, I've seen participants writing 3 paragraphs, like 2,000 words for each box, and it was not a problem for them. So I'm assuming the limit would be, something that participants cannot have time to write that much writing for. So a demo video is a great idea. If you really want to do a Q sort with participants, have your participants do this without you being present, if that's the case, whatever the reason is for that. you can make a demo video. You can just do everything I did through, like right at the beginning, this is number 1. I want you to think about that. This is page number 2. I want you to do this. Page number 2. And you can ask them to stop the video, go do the sorting, come back when you get to the next page, or however you want to design that. And then it will be a good idea with you being not present. I've not done that. It's all my studies. And one participant said, I do not have video. I really want to help. I'm interested in the topic. I want to do it. And we did that on the phone. I sent them the link. They were on a computer screen, not through Zoom. So I was on the phone, answer all the questions, did everything without just like a video screen. You need Netlify to make the documents in your computer available to, not the documents, but the interface, the thing, all the statements, the directions, the sorting table, and the demographic questions and everything, like you would do with a Likert scale study that you would do for a quantitative study, our methodology, as we call it in Q. You would need Netlify or some kind of hosting company to make that as a link, as an available link. The participants can just click on it and be on their screen, on their own screen, using their own internet and their own browser. And then you need Firebase to store the data. Actually, 1 second, if I may, I'm just going to show you. We're not seeing my screen. Real-time database. Surprise, surprise. These are all, each of them is a human being that was present in our Zoom meeting today. Number 1, I think number 1 was me. I did a test run. Number 2, and it's just coded. I don't know who these people are, but I know their data. They are right here. When you click on it, it just says some weird way, but all the comments, everything here. This person this is their sorting. And then these are, 3, for example, was for their question, whatever that they picked the option 3. And this one was they entered 10. Whatever the question was, I need to go back and see the question 2, or no, say that's duration. So form 1, this was their birth year, that this is what they entered. This person was born in 12th century, 13th century. So they picked 0 for option 1, form 1, whatever the question was. I need to go back and see the question. So this is in some kind of, and you can download this, and there's a website, HtmlQ website. You can change that file into dot file and STA file. So data file and statements file that you can use for PQ method analysis. So you can do the analysis on HtmlQ website, but also you can do it, and all those instructions are in the EQ configurator. Sorry, I'm gonna stop here. So that's where the data is. I know, I know everything I need to know in terms of Q data.
I think we're kind of at time. So these are the questions now are getting a little bit into the nitty gritty. And so that's where the Q configurator is useful, because it's got that really, really simplified step-by-step instructions for you. And I am going to stay on, like I said, for like the next half hour or so. If you want to go ahead and try and download HtmlQ, download the configurator so you can have the great instructions. And then I'll do my best to stay on and help answer any questions. And I think we should wrap it up. Yeah. So yeah, Mustafa.
Miku, I've never done a presentation that was on time like this one. So I appreciate your organization skills in this. So this was great. I think we learned all together as a group. I learned so much just doing it. And if you have questions, we can answer as much as we can. Reach us out. If not, Google, find something in YouTube that explain a similar process or some parts of this, or reach out to Dr. Banasick. I don't know, he may answer or he may not answer. I don't want to guarantee anything, but thank you very much, for being here, for sharing this hour with us.
Thank you, everybody. And I will download the chat also and try and follow up on things we weren't able to get to. And Clark, Van Gilder, if you do have ideas for how to do that HTML picture sorting thing, maybe we can follow up with you and spread that information back out to this group. So I think that's everything. So yeah, thank you all. And we'll look forward to maybe seeing you again at one of our other weekly seminars or monthly seminars. So yeah.
So interested people are staying and the rest is leaving. Is that correct, Miku?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yep. So if you want to stay on, you can stay on. Maybe we'll take a 2-minute pause and then come back together if anyone wants to dive in right now and see how far they can get.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye all.